Okay, let's unpack this. In 6th century China, there was this enlightened Zen master who was actually executed by the emperor.
Yeah. It's a wild story to start with.
It really is. And his crime, he was hanging out in taverns and brothels.
Right.
But according to the incredibly raw, like behind the scenes transcripts we are diving into today, he wasn't sinning and he hadn't, lost his way at all.
No, not at all.
He was actually demonstrating the absolute highest form of spiritual perfection.
Is a totally shocking story, especially when you consider how we normally um, view religious figures.
Right, like we expect them to be meditating quietly on a mountaintop somewhere.
Exactly. Just completely removed from the messiness of human life.
Mm.
But the documents we are analyzing today, they completely invert that entire idea.
They really do.
We are looking at a set of working notes produced by Buddha's Practice Incorporated, which is based in Australia. It's a real-time, highly philosophical dialogue between a teacher, consultant Benny, and a seeker of Buddhist teachings named Venerable Ivy.
And the layer that makes this deep dive so compelling is, well, it's how these ancient concepts are being processed right now.
Yes, a modern twist.
Right, because Venerable Ivy wasn't just, taking notes with a pen and paper. She was actually feeding these massive, complex spiritual files into modern AI tools.
Specifically, Notebook LM and Dawn.
Yeah,
So you
exactly.
have this fascinating collision. Thousands of years of nuanced, paradoxical spiritual wisdom being fed into literal machine learning algorithms.
Crazy to think about.
It is. And our goal today is to look at the output of that collision. We are going to explore the core differences between Mahayana and Hinayana Buddhism and really break down the mechanics of compassion, the illusion of the self, and what it fundamentally requires to actually help the people around you.
And I just want to say, even if you aren't a Buddhist monk or like an AI programmer, the framework they discuss for handling suffering and dealing with the most difficult, toxic people in your life, it is going to completely upend how you view your daily interactions.
Oh, absolutely. It shifts everything.
So let's start with how this whole dialogue kicked off. Venerable Ivy dumps all these source files into a cloud folder to train the AI, and she gives it this massive foundational prompt,
Right. She asks, what is the difference between Mahayana and Hinayana?
which is a huge question.
It is a question that scholars spend their entire lives debating.
Yeah.
And the AI, well, it did what an AI does.
Yeah.
It scanned a folder, cited various documents, pulled specific sentences, and generated a very neat, organized comparative table.
Right. Just a nice little bulleted list of enlightenment.
Exactly. And technically, the data was accurate.
But consultant Benny immediately flags that the AI completely missed the essence of the teaching.
Completely missed it.
Reading through the transcript, it felt like the AI was acting like a GPS navigation system.
That's a great way to put it.
Like a GPS knows every single street address in a city. It can calculate the exact distance between 2 points, but it has absolutely no concept of what a home is.
Right. It doesn't know what it feels like to live there.
Exactly. It has the data, but it lacks the unifying human experience.
That captures Benny's critique perfectly. The AI grabbed fragmented explanations from different contexts and just mashed them together.
Like a collage.
Yeah, a collage. It couldn't synthesize the body of the teaching into one coherent mechanism. So Benny steps in to provide that synthesis himself.
Okay, so how does he define them?
Well, he defines the two paths not through a list of traits, but through their underlying engine. He explains that Hinayana is the process of subduing your own afflictions to head toward the ultimate peace of nirvana.
Let me pause there because we throw the word nirvana around a lot in pop culture.
We do.
In this context, nirvana is essentially the complete cessation of your own personal suffering. It's the exit door from the cycle of stress and pain.
Yes, exactly. The Hinayana practitioner looks at the burning building of the world and focuses entirely on putting out the fire on their own clothes so they can safely exit the building.
Makes sense.
But Mahayana, Benny explains, operates on a completely different physical law. Mahayana is the act of voluntarily sacrificing oneself to benefit other sentient beings.
But hold on, isn't the entire premise of Buddhism to escape suffering?
That's what most people think, yeah.
Right, so if you have the exit door right in front of you, why would anyone voluntarily stay behind in a burning building? That seems completely counterintuitive to the goal of finding peace.
It is counterintuitive, and that is exactly the tension Benny unpacks.
Okay.
He uses an incredible visual from a text called the Avatamsaka Sutra to explain the actual mechanism of why a practitioner would stay behind.
I love this part.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So imagine a colossal ancient tree in a vast wilderness. This is the Tree of Awakening.
Okay, I have the visual.
In this analogy, the roots of this giant tree represent sentient beings, regular people, with all their daily neuroses, greed, anger, and struggles.
Just everyday messiness.
Exactly. And the beautiful flowers and fruits blooming high up on the branches, those represent the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas.
And just to clarify, a bodhisattva is someone who has reached the brink of enlightenment, but takes a vow to remain in the messy cycle of human existence to help others cross the finish line, right?
Precisely. They are the fruit of the tree. Now, the water that nourishes the roots of this tree is great compassion.
Okay.
But Benny doesn't just treat this as a pretty poem, he breaks it down like a botanist.
Right.
He points out that if you know anything about agriculture, roots need a lot more than just a splash of generic water.
Yeah, depending on the specific deficiency in the soil, the root might need a highly specific fertilizer.
Exactly.
It needs a certain temperature, a certain mineral composition, a specific amount of shade.
This is the critical insight. Benny is emphasizing the agonizing, granular effort required in the Mahayana path.
You can't just be lazy about it.
Right. You cannot just stand far away and throw a bucket of water on a dying plant and call yourself a gardener. You have to study exactly what that specific root requires in that exact moment. You have to meet the suffering exactly where it exists.
That makes me look at a very specific line from the text differently.
Which one?
The transcript says Bodhi, which means enlightenment or supreme wisdom, belongs to sentient beings.
Yes.
So if enlightenment actually belongs to the suffering of regular people, does that mean if the world was somehow magically perfect and nobody suffered, enlightenment wouldn't even exist?
That is the exact logical conclusion Benny drives toward.
Yes.
Wow. Without the friction of other people's suffering, you would never be forced to study why suffering happens in the first place.
That makes total sense.
Think about a muscle. A muscle cannot grow without the resistance of heavy gravity.
Right, you need the weights.
Exactly. The struggles, the profound annoyance, the deep pain of the beings around you, that is the literal resistance required to tear the muscle of your own ignorance so that wisdom can grow back stronger.
So you literally cannot grow the fruit on the top branches without burying your hands deep into the mud with the roots.
And Benny warns that if you just want the pretty fruit for yourself, you are ignoring the entire biological mechanism of how the tree survives.
You're trying to hack the system.
Right. If there were no suffering beings, there would be no need for bodhisattvas to develop patience, no need to develop complex methods of teaching, and therefore no path to ultimate Buddhahood.
That reframes how we view spirituality entirely.
Completely.
Usually people get into spiritual practices or meditation to escape from their annoying boss or their toxic family members.
Could run away.
Yeah, to run away.
Right.
We view those people as obstacles to our peace. But Benny is suggesting that those difficult people are the prerequisite soil for your growth.
Which naturally shifts the conversation toward how we interact with the concept of religion itself.
Okay, how so?
Well, if getting our hands dirty with difficult people is the only way to genuinely grow, then the traditional idea of just donating some money to a temple to gain good karma completely falls apart.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Venerable Ivy actually brings this up. She asks Benny about what it really means to make an offering to the Buddha.
Right, because when you walk into almost any religious space, making an offering usually means a transaction.
Exactly.
Put money in the donation box, you bring food, you light a candle. It's very physical.
But Benny completely dismantles that transactional mindset. He refers to physical material donations as affair offerings.
Fair offerings, okay.
And he explains that relying on affair offerings keeps you entirely on the outside of the philosophy.
Interesting.
You are essentially acting like a polite guest, bringing a bottle of wine to a dinner party. You get to feel good about your manners, but you aren't part of the family. You don't live in the house.
That is such a good analogy. And think about how often we do this in our own lives.
All the time.
Writing a $50 check to a charity online so we don't have to actually make eye contact with the homeless person on our street.
Yes.
It's a way of outsourcing our compassion. So if that makes us an outsider, what is the alternative? How do you actually step inside the house?
Benny states that the absolute highest offering is to be of one heart and one mind with the Buddha.
Meaning what exactly?
It means you have to align your internal operating system with the Buddha's operating system.
And the Buddha's operating system is entirely focused on pulling beings out of suffering.
Exactly.
So if you donate $1 million to build a new meditation hall, but you go to work the next day and scream at your employees, your mind is moving in the exact opposite direction.
You are operating with what Benny calls a heart and character divorced from the path.
I understand the theory of being of one mind, but let's pressure test this a little bit.
Sure.
It sounds incredibly noble to say, I won't just throw money at a problem, I will truly accommodate and help people.
Right.
But what if the person you are trying to help wants something that is genuinely terrible for them?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what if someone says, if you really have compassion for me, give me all your money so I can gamble it away because gambling makes me happy.
Venerable Ivy pushes Benny on this exact dilemma.
Oh, she does.
Yeah. How do you accommodate the wishes of sentient beings if their wishes are totally self-destructive?
Right, because you don't want to cause more harm.
Exactly. And Benny's response is the ultimate definition of tough love. He introduces a concept called skillful means.
Skillful means, let's define that.
Skillful means is the ability to use clever, sometimes highly unconventional or tough methods to guide someone out of their ignorance, tailored specifically to their personal neuroses.
Okay.
Benny clarifies that accommodating someone through great compassion means pulling them out of the fire.
Yeah.
It does not mean handing them more gasoline just because they ask for it.
Wow. He explicitly points out that if someone wants things that will only increase their greed or worsen their sickness, giving those things to them is an act of harm.
Yes, it's feeding the disease under the guise of being polite.
It's just fake compassion.
You have to separate the person's short-term craving from the long-term cure. Benny notes that sentient beings are clutching their suffering tightly, begging for happiness, but violently refusing to let go of the very habits making them miserable.
That is so human.
Right. A true practitioner doesn't just hand them a temporary distraction. And this is exactly where Benny brings up the story of the second patriarch, Heek, that you mentioned at the very beginning of the deep dive.
Let's finally unpack that, because it perfectly illustrates what skillful means looks like in the extreme.
It really does.
So Heek was a highly revered Zen master, but he started spending all of his time in the seediest taverns and brothels in the city.
To understand why he did this, we have to look at the mechanism of enlightenment.
Okay.
It is incredibly easy to feel peaceful, holy, and enlightened when you are sitting in a perfectly quiet monastery surrounded by people who agree with you.
Sure, there's no friction.
Right. But true emptiness, true liberation means your mind remains completely undisturbed, regardless of the external environment.
So he wasn't going to the taverns to indulge in the vices?
Yeah.
He was throwing himself into the most chaotic, highly charged, sensory overloading environments on Earth as a stress test for his own mind.
Exactly. He was plunging into the messiest parts of human existence because he understood that the people in those taverns with all their greed and lust and anger were his own mind.
He wasn't running away from the roots.
He was accommodating them by working through the deepest illusions of reality right there in the mud, proving that enlightenment isn't fragile, doesn't shatter when someone spills a beer on it.
But the conventional religious authorities of the time didn't see it that way at all.
Not even a little bit.
The monks and the emperor looked at him and thought he was dragging the pristine teachings of the Buddha into the gutter.
They were furious.
They were so offended by his unconventional methods that the emperor literally had him executed.
But the texts record a profound, symbolic detail about his execution. When Huike was killed, his blood supposedly ran white, like milk.
Okay, so what is the biological or spiritual mechanism behind that metaphor? Why white blood?
It symbolizes the absolute purification of his physical and mental karma. Yeah, and karma, in this context, isn't just a cosmic point system of good and bad deeds. It is the active mechanism of cause and effect.
Okay, an action creates a reaction.
Exactly. But Huike had achieved the state of an arhat, a perfected person who has entirely stepped off that wheel of cause and effect.
Oh, I see.
The white blood is a visual metaphor communicating that his literal biological hardware had been completely transformed by the software of his enlightened mind.
He was no longer operating by the conventional laws of human suffering.
Right. And the authorities realized far too late that they had executed a true sage.
That story really highlights how completely blind we can be to true wisdom when we are locked into our rigid, conventional ways of thinking.
We just miss it entirely.
Which leads Venerable Ivy to ask the most logical follow-up question.
Right.
If we all originally possess this perfect, boundless wisdom, if we all have the potential to be like, Huike, How did we lose it? How did we become so blind and confused?
Benny's answer is chilling because of its simplicity. He tells Ivy, you never recognized it.
It's not that we had this brilliant wisdom, put it in our pocket, and accidentally dropped it.
No.
It's that we have never once stopped to actually look at it.
Benny explains the mechanics of this blindness using the concept of the karmic circle.
Let's visualize that.
Imagine drawing a continuous circle on a piece of paper. As you travel along the line of this circle, you do two things simultaneously. First, you eat a fruit.
And the fruit represents experiencing the results of your past actions. Like you get yelled at by your boss or you win the lottery. You are experiencing a result.
Correct. But the moment you eat that fruit, you spit out a seed.
Which means?
Meaning you react to that experience. You react to your boss with anger, or you react to the lottery with immense greed. That emotional reaction plants the seed for your next experience down the line.
So we are just walking in an endless loop. Eating a fruit, spitting a seed, eating a fruit, spitting a seed.
Yeah.
We are so utterly consumed by the taste of the fruit and the anxiety of planting the seeds that we never take a step back to realize we are just walking in a drawn circle.
And because your entire focus is locked on the endless cycle of action and reaction, you mistake the contents of that circle for your actual identity.
Reading that explanation made me think of the mechanics of a virtual reality headset.
Oh, that's a perfect comparison.
Right. When you strap a high-end VR headset over your eyes, within seconds, the immersive environment tricks your brain.
It feels completely real.
Yeah. A digital dragon flies at you, and your actual physical heart rate spikes. You get genuinely terrified.
You forget who you are.
You are utterly convinced the game is reality, completely forgetting that there is a consciousness sitting safely in a chair in a living room just wearing a piece of plastic.
That is a brilliant modern equivalent.
Yeah.
We project our identity entirely into the simulation of the fruit and the seeds. We think the digital dragon is our true self.
And Benny actually validates this idea that reality is a kind of projection by bringing in a completely unexpected source.
Yes, Albert Einstein.
Which is wild.
He brings up Einstein's later realizations regarding physics, specifically the theory of relativity.
Let's break down how physics connects to a Buddhist monk's teaching on emptiness, because on the surface, that sounds like a massive leap.
It does, but the mechanism is actually identical. Before Einstein, classical physics viewed space and time as an absolute, fixed, rigid box that the universe existed inside.
Like a stage.
Right. A second was a second, a mile was a mile, regardless of who was measuring it. But Einstein proved that space and time are inextricably linked into a fabric that bends, warps, and changes, depending on the speed and gravity of the observer.
Time and space are relative. They aren't independent realities out there. They depend on the observer.
Yes. And Betty points out that this scientific realization perfectly mirrors the Buddhist concept of emptiness.
How so?
Well, emptiness doesn't mean a dark, depressing void. It means that phenomena, whether it's a digital dragon, an annoying coworker, or the passage of time itself, do not have fixed, independent existence. They only exist in relation to the mind that is observing them.
So when Einstein realized time and space were illusions created by relative observation, he was essentially describing the exact same VR headset the Buddha described thousands of years earlier.
By understanding that the game is just a projection, you stop being a victim of the circle.
You don't necessarily take the headset off and vanish from the world, but you finally understand how the software is running.
Exactly. You aren't bound by the illusion of the digital dragon anymore.
Okay, so if we are stuck in this loop of eating fruits and spitting seeds, and the ultimate goal is to finally recognize the illusion of the VR headset, how do we actually walk that path day to day?
That's the big question.
Venerable Ivy really struggles with this practical application. She tries to logically separate the motivation to start meditating from the ultimate goal of perfect awakening.
Right, she treats them like two different points on a map.
Yeah.
But Benny stops her immediately. He insists that you cannot dissect the path into discrete little pieces. He tells her the goal is the motivation.
That sounds like a riddle. How can the finish line be the starting line?
Because if you divide them, you create a false distance. You turn enlightenment into some distant mythical destination that you have to travel to, rather than a state of mind you are cultivating right here, right now.
I see.
Benny frames it beautifully. He says the entire road is just the mind.
So whether you are at the very beginning of your journey feeling like you are crawling a turbulent river,
Right.
or you are in the middle climbing a steep mountain of your own anger, or you are facing a terrifying cliff of self-doubt.
It is all one continuous, unbroken journey of the mind.
Ah.
You are constantly applying your awareness to whatever terrain is directly in front of you.
It's all just the path.
Exactly. You cannot divorce the starting step from the final step. Every single step taken with the intention to wake up is the awakening process itself. Benny warns that if you sever the motivation from the goal, you lose the whole body of the teaching.
Which brings us full circle to exactly why the AI failed at the very beginning of their transcript.
Oh, absolutely.
The Notebook LM and Dawn models, they chopped the ancient philosophy into discrete, isolated data points.
Yes, they did.
The AI separated the start from the finish, the text from the context. It lacked the capacity to experience the unified, continuous mind that Benny is talking about.
The AI could draw the map, but it couldn't walk the road.
So let's bring all of this together. We started this deep dive looking at a digital workspace where an AI failed to output a spiritual concept, and we ended up deconstructing the physics of reality and the mechanics of human suffering.
It's been quite a journey.
We've learned that the Mahayana path requires a willingness to get deep into the mud, that true greatness requires the difficult, annoying, sentient beings around us.
We learned that throwing money at a problem as an affair offering keeps you as an outsider.
Yeah, you have to be in the house.
Right. True compassion requires the skillful means of tough love aligning your mind to actually relieve suffering, even if it means denying people the harmful things they mistakenly believe will make them happy.
And most profoundly, we learned that the reality we are so stressed about is just a circle of our own making. If we feel trapped, it is only because we haven't recognized the consciousness behind the headset.
The takeaway here is incredibly empowering because it means the mechanism for waking up is always entirely within your immediate environment.
It's right in front of you.
Exactly. The next time you are profoundly frustrated by someone else's behavior or you feel weighed down by a toxic dynamic in your life, remember the tree.
They are the roots.
They are not obstacles preventing your peace. They are the exact specific roots you need to study and water in order to grow your own wisdom. Without their friction, your compassion has absolutely no resistance to push against, and your tree cannot bloom.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to carry into your day. We established that Bodhi, true, liberating enlightenment, belongs entirely to the suffering of others. So take a moment to think about the single biggest problem in your life right now. The one dynamic or person or situation you are most desperate to fix or escape from. What if that specific problem isn't a distraction from your growth? What if it is the exact nutrient-dense mud your personal tree desperately needs to finally bear fruit?